All right, in the second screencast, we're going to talk about something called marginal analysis, which is one of the more important concepts in economics, and we're going to see it throughout both micro and macroeconomics. So let's talk about what it's about. Now, in life, most choices are not all or nothing decisions. You don't decide to watch TV or not watch TV. You decide to watch TV for a certain amount of time. You don't decide to study or not study. You study for a certain amount of time. You don't decide to drink soda or not drink soda. You decide to drink a certain amount of soda. So, as a result of that, economists use this thing called marginal analysis to tell them how much of anything to do. Not should we do something or not do something, but how much of something should we do. So, the word marginal means additional or the change in something. It's a measure from one unit to the next. Now, economists use marginal analysis to decide how much of something to do. And by the way, if you're taking calculus, you might want to equate marginal with derivative, but I don't want to confuse anyone. We're not going to be using calculus. If that helps you, great. So the best way to understand marginal analysis is really just to go through an example. So I'm going to go through an example with you. I want you to imagine that it's a hot summer day and you've been exercising, you've worked up a thirst, and you see out of the corner of your eye this vending machine at the side of the field that you're exercising on. It's selling soda. Now, I should make this clear. I am going to use the word soda because I am originally from New York City, where we say soda. And let's say this soda costs $1 each. That's what it says on the vending machine. Now, kind of separately, as an aside, I was surprised when I kept hearing the word pop when I moved to the Midwest. So I did a little research and I found this map which shows you in the country which people call soda what. So if you look in the blue area, that's where we are. That's where people call soda pop, and that's probably what you call it. If you look in the yellow areas out towards the coasts, where we have things like culture, opera, quality sports teams, decent hip hop music. Um, that's where the civilized people call it soda. If you go down south to that red area where people tend to have sex with their cousins, they just get confused and they call everything Coke. I don't know why, but you walk into a McDonald's, if you want Sprite, you say, I'd like a large Coke, make it a Sprite. And they know what you're talking about because they've also probably had sex with their cousins. All right, anyway, let's get back to the example. So here's the question. If you want to maximize your utility, maximize your happiness, how many cans of soda should you buy? Let's say you're really, really thirsty and you're probably not going to just have one. Okay, so let's look at some hypothetical data and I'll explain this data for you and try to explain how I came about it. So you'll look at this table that I've constructed. In the left-hand side, it says cans of soda, different amounts of soda that you might consume, anywhere from 0 to 6 cans. The total benefit column tells you how many dollars worth of happiness you're expecting to receive from various amounts of soda. Now, in the last screencast, I brought you to this idea that we could put a dollar value on things. So I might say to you, hey, I have a can of soda. Would you pay $1 for it? Maybe you would. Would you pay $5 for it? Maybe you would if you were really thirsty. If you wouldn't pay $5.01, but you would pay $5 for it, well, that's the benefit that you expect to get from it in dollar terms. Skip over the marginal column for a minute, and you'll see the total cost column. That's simply the cost of buying the various amounts of soda. So let's do a few thought experiments with you, and I try to figure out for you what would be the total benefit for you of various amounts of soda. And I play this little back and forth game with you, and we come up with numbers that look like this. First can of soda would be worth $5 to you. That's the benefit you expect to receive from it because you're really, really thirsty. Maybe the second can of soda combined with the first can of soda would give you a total of $8 worth of benefit. Maybe you'd be willing to pay $11 for 4 cans of soda. So you can see how the numbers go. Total cost numbers are pretty simple. They just keep going up by 1 because each additional can of soda costs an additional dollar. Now, if you look at these numbers, you might try to figure out, well, how many cans of soda is the right amount for me? Now, the economist will tell you that you shouldn't really be looking at those numbers. What you should be looking at are the marginal numbers. Remember, marginal means change or addition to. How many more dollars worth of happiness are you going to get if you drink one more can of soda? So if you go from 0 cans of soda to 1 can of soda, you're going from a benefit of $0 to $5. That's $5 additional worth of benefit. The marginal cost of that first can would be $1. It's going to cost you $1 more to get 1 more can of soda. When we talk about that second can of soda, the marginal benefit here is only 3. It's giving you $3 additional worth of happiness, and it's costing $1 additional to buy. Well, we could easily calculate this for the rest of the cans of soda, and we get numbers that look like this. Again, the marginal numbers are telling you how much more are you getting compared to what you have before you consume that next can of soda. And you can see how the numbers go. Now here's the rule, and we're going to be applying this rule in various forms all year long. If you want to maximize your utility, if you want to get the most happiness you can get out of something given its costs, you keep engaging in that activity as long as the marginal benefit is at least as much as the marginal cost. Or in formula terms, as long as the MB, marginal benefit, is greater than or equal to the marginal cost, it makes sense to do something. And this goes not only for cans of soda, it goes for everything else. You know, you've been hanging out with your boyfriend or girlfriend. How many hours should you hang out with your boyfriend or girlfriend tonight? Well, not 24 hours and not 0 hours. There's some number there. And as long as the benefit you're getting exceeds for each additional minute you spend with them, the cost of that minute, it makes sense to hang out with your boyfriend or girlfriend. Well, if you look at the numbers, we can now look at the marginal benefits and marginal costs. If you drink that first can of soda, it's going to bring you $5 additional worth of benefit. It's only going to cost you an additional $1 to get that $5 worth of benefit. That'd be like me walking up to you and saying, hey, I will give you $5 if you give me $1. That's a good deal, and that's a deal you should take, and if you don't take that deal, you're missing out. If you look at the second can of soda, it's still true. Second can of soda is bringing you $3 additional worth of benefit and is still only costing you $1 additional to get. I would always get $3 that only cost me $1 to get. Same thing's true with the third can of soda. More marginal benefit than the marginal cost. For that fourth can of soda, the marginal benefit equals the marginal cost. But again, if you look back to the formula, you might as well get it. It's like handing someone $1 in order to get $1 back. And by the way, as an aside, think about why it makes sense to go to where they're equal. If you think about it and doesn't come to you, come in and talk to me about it. It's a little bit abstract, but I can get you to understand. Anyway, look at that fifth can of soda. It's bringing you no additional benefit, 0, and it's going to cost you an additional $1 to get. That'd be like me walking up to you and saying, hey, you give me $1 and I'll give you nothing. If you buy that fifth can of soda, you're making a mistake. Same thing true with the sixth can. Well, let's say we graph those numbers out, marginal benefits and marginal costs. Remember, I said we're going to use a lot of graphs in this class. So on the horizontal axis, I have cans of soda, anywhere from 0 to 6. Notice what's going on with the marginal benefit. They're generally going down. Again, I'll show you the numbers again. Marginal benefit, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0, -7. Generally dropping. The marginal cost in this example is constant at $1, which gives us that constant line across for marginal cost. If we're going to apply the rule, keep on consuming as long as the marginal benefit is equal to the marginal cost, what we're really doing is going to where these two lines intersect. Think about one can of soda. Remember, the marginal benefit was greater than the marginal cost. And you could think about the difference between those two as the gain you're getting. It's costing you $1 to get $5 of happiness. You're getting a gain of $4. If you go beyond the optimal amount of soda, let's say you drank 5 cans, again, the marginal benefit there was not as much as the marginal cost. You got 0 benefit, cost you $1. You could think of that vertical distance as the loss. Only where the two are equal, where the marginal benefit was equal to the marginal cost, was the optimal amount of cans of soda, and that occurred at 4 cans. Now we're going to give a name to that, a name we're going to come back to time and time again. We're going to call that allocative efficiency, the perfect right amount of stuff. In this example, 4 cans of soda would be allocatively efficient for you. Now one other thing I want you to notice about those numbers, if you look at the marginal benefit column, you'll notice that the numbers drop. In other words, as you continue to drink cans of soda, the pleasure that you're getting from each additional can is going down. Not that you're not getting any pleasure from them, it's just that that second can of soda wasn't as refreshing as the first can. The first can just brought you from a dry mouth to some refreshment. The second can of soda is just kind of adding a little bit to that refreshment. Now that's going to be true about almost any activity you can think of. At some point, the more you do something, the less additional utility you get from it. I'm a vegetarian now, but when I ate meat, I used to like to go to Taco Bell, and I'd order like 47 tacos. It cost like $3. And the same thing would happen every single time. The first taco was delicious. The second taco was still pretty good, but not quite as delicious. At some point, I got to that fourth taco where you hit that piece of cartilage that isn't supposed to be there, and you just start feeling nauseous, right? At some point, the value, the experience starts to diminish the more and more you consume of something. Now, I challenge you to think of any counterexample to this. All right, go ahead. Shut your eyes. And what I want you to imagine is you're sitting in your room at home, and you're doing the most pleasurable thing you can imagine doing in that room. That's disgusting. Think of something else. All right, so you're thinking of the most pleasurable thing you can imagine doing. Now imagine doing it for 10 minutes. Now imagine doing it for an hour. Now imagine doing it for 30 hours in a row. It's getting painful, right? Okay, that's diminishing marginal utility. No matter how wonderful something is, the more and more you do it, the less additional satisfaction you get from it as you consume more of it. All right, in terms of our little table, when you're looking for where diminishing marginal utility happening, what you're looking for is as soon as marginal benefit begins to fall. You'll notice that that's happening between the first and second can of soda. We would say that diminishing marginal utility is happening after the first can of soda, or alternatively, you could say that diminishing marginal utility is happening as soon as you start drinking that second can of soda. Again, second can of soda is worth it. Second can of soda is still bringing you happiness. It's just not bringing you as much happiness as it was before. If, for example, the marginal benefit of that second can of soda was 8, then diminishing marginal utility wouldn't start happening until that third can of soda, because the utility would be going up. The marginal utility would be going up between the first and second cans, but not the second and third. All right, we're going to talk a lot more about diminishing marginal utility. You'll probably see an example of it in class, but that pretty much wraps up this particular screencast.
All right, so here is the chicken you'll be enjoying tonight.
You have this information. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. His name was Colin. Here are his papers, okay?
That's great. He looks like a happy little guy who runs around.